I was really thinking before this fight, like right when this got announced, that Jake was honestly going to win and Jake was going to knock him out. I don't know if the MMA gods or whoever's been pulling on me, but the more I think about it, the more I really analyze this fight, I really think that Ben actually could pull this off. Ben's striking absolutely sucks. He hits like my grandma, and honestly I would argue out of modern MMA in the past 15-20 years in the UFC, Ben easily has the worst hands. I would honestly argue that maybe CM Punk had better hands than Ben Askren. So if you guys saw the last video I did, like as soon as this fight was announced, you guys would have known that I was not a fan of this fight at all. I was not a fan of the matchup. I honestly think it's just kind of annoying because I feel like Jake Paul is just hand-picking his opponents. He's picking people that have names to him, big names, that he can fight and that he knows will make him look good. And it's kind of annoying because, like, if you look at like Nate Robinson, for example, Nate Robinson is an NBA player. He's a big NBA player. He's not rich. He's a big name NBA player, he's a star, he's got a name to him, people know who he is. People think just because of his name and his athletic ability that he can fight and he'll probably knock Jake Paul out, so when Jake Paul actually knocked him out, people were surprised. But Nate Robinson had zero boxing experience to Jake Paul's couple years or whatever he has of boxing experience. He just has boxing experience that Nate Robinson doesn't have, and that was the biggest thing. I feel like anybody that knows anything about fighting or boxing kind of expect that to happen just because of the experience factor. And then you go on after that fight to the people that Jake Paul was calling out, like Dylan Dennis, for example. I think Dylan honestly actually probably would have tuned up Jake, and I think that's the reason the fight actually didn't happen, and I think Jake probably realized that. But in terms of like MMA striking, Dylan is not good at all. Dylan is a jiu-jitsu guy, he's a grappler first, that was like his base, that's what he started out as. He's a jiu-jitsu world champion that kind of got into MMA and kind of got into striking, but Jake is trying to get him into a boxing match, which makes zero sense because that just takes everything away that Dylan's good at. Or if you look at someone like Ben Askren, Ben Askren's another guy who's a college wrestling national champion. He was on the Olympic wrestling team. The dude is a wrestler first. He's a decorated wrestler that got into MMA, that got into striking. And again, you're calling these guys out that were in MMA, their big thing was their grappling and their jiu-jitsu and everything like that. You're calling these guys out into boxing matches, so it's going to make you look good because they have a name, because they're professional fighters. So when you take them into the ring potentially and you beat them, it makes you look really good, but it's a bunch of bogus. And the only exception would be Conor McGregor, and the only reason he was calling out Conor McGregor is because it's the biggest name and it's the biggest payday. Heck, I'd throw my name in the hat to fight Conor McGregor in a boxing match. If you're throwing $50 million at me, I'll flippin' gladly get knocked out in 30 seconds by Conor for 50 mil. But honestly, I think after watching the press conference, I've kind of had a change of heart on my thoughts on this fight and how I think this fight's actually going to play out. If you guys have not watched this press conference, I highly recommend checking it out. Even if you guys could care less what the two guys have to say, I would literally just watch it for the sheer entertainment value. It's flippin' hilarious. It's literally like watching like a 12-year-old teenage girl sit there and argue with her parents.
You know, he kind of came up in his brother's shadow. He's trying to fill his brother's footsteps. His brother is a lot more talented, has a larger following. Those type of things.
You literally went on your Instagram and asked people for roast. You asked people for roast on your Instagram, and that was the top comment was say that his brother is better than him.
Is he?
That's like calling Kylie Jenner Kendall Jenner.
Every time Ben said something, Ben was so calm, cool, and composed the whole entire time. It completely bothered Jake because everything Jake said it had zero effect on Ben, and it was just really bad listening to Jake talk. He's not good on the mic at all. He's just really cringy. Like, I would much rather listen to flippin' Henry Cejudo be cringy for 40 minutes or listen to Colby Covington say whatever he has to say for 40 minutes than listen to flippin' Jake Paul ramble about whatever he has to say about boxing in 40 minutes because it's just awful. So you might be wondering like what after that press conference changed my mind or changed my thoughts on the outcome of this fight, and I think there's multiple things. One thing like right away that I thought of when I was watching the press conference, this easily is the biggest fight of Jake's career. Even though he said in that press conference this isn't the biggest fight or this isn't his hardest fight, this definitely is. You're fighting a dude who's a former professional fighter, the dude who's performed at the highest level of multiple sports multiple times, and if you're Jake, this is the biggest fight you've ever been in. This is the highest level you've ever really been at. Ben, for example, has been at the highest level of college wrestling, highest level of Olympic wrestling, the highest level of mixed martial arts, and now he's just fighting a YouTuber in a boxing match. Now, I do believe that Jake honestly probably has the better hands between the two in terms of like actual boxing. Jake probably actually has better hands. But I do believe that Ben is probably more durable because he's been in legitimate fights. He's been hit in the head. He's been in wars before. He knows how to fight through and he knows how to go to that dark place. I don't know if Jake is going to be able to do that because he's never really faced adversity before. It's always been him being the hammer and he's never really been the nail. But I really think that the moment's going to be too big for Jake. I think he honestly is going to have a hard time putting Ben away just because Ben is going to have more defense because he's going to have bigger gloves. and he's just going to be more durable because he can take punches probably better than most people. He's a professional fighter, and he's been hit in the head by Robbie Lawler, by Diego Lima, by legitimate world-class fighters, people that hit way harder than Jake Paul. And I think Jake is probably going to gas out. I think the moment, the adrenaline dump, everything like that, being in that big of a fight, and it'll probably be the longest fight he's ever had because a lot of his fights have been like first, second, third round knockouts. I think Ben is probably going to drag this fight out a little bit longer because he's just been there before. He's durable, he can take the shots. I think he's going to start gassing Jake out, and I think he's just going to overwhelm Jake once Jake starts getting tired. I don't know, you might think I'm crazy, but I was really thinking before this fight, like right when this got announced, that Jake was honestly going to win and Jake was going to knock him out. I don't know if the MMA gods or whoever's been pulling on me, but the more I think about it, the more I really analyze this fight, I really think that Ben actually could pull this off. Ben's striking absolutely sucks. He hits like my grandma, and honestly I would argue out of modern MMA in the past 15-20 years in the UFC, Ben easily has the worst hands. I would honestly argue that maybe CM Punk had better hands than Ben Askren. This is just my analysis. This could just be completely crazy, and this video might not age well at all. I really am interested to see how this fight's going to play out. But share your guys' thoughts, opinions in the comment section below. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to share this video. If you guys know anyone else that would enjoy this video, send my video your way. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.